I'm so excited to talk about this anyways. Okay, so
Yeah.
tell me what you were saying.
Okay, so all right. Whew. The issues that people are having with coaching, right? Like a couple months ago, I think it wasn't even that long ago, I saw this guy on YouTube bashing coaches and talking about how it's just this, I don't even know what he was saying. He was hateful. He was angry. He had had a bad experience. So got it. He had a bad experience. I wish somebody had had an opportunity to change his mind,
Yeah.
but so it started with that. And then of course, your mind kind of like gets attuned to noticing things once they've come up. So now my brain is noticing these conversations people are having about bad experiences with coaches. There was one yesterday, and this lady was outlining all of the issues that she had with this coach that she had joined a pro. I don't even think it was, I think it was a couple, like a husband wife couple that was running a coaching program, and they weren't following through with what they promised her. And I was just really sad for her, and everybody experiences that, and really freaking angry because obviously as a coach, I'm like, that looks really bad for anybody who uses the title of coach. And the problem with the industry is anybody can use the title of coach.
Right, right.
So anybody, certified or not, trained or not, can wake up and go, oh, I'm a coach of such and such today. And there's
Yeah.
nothing, no kind of regulations that say they can't do that.
Mhm.
There's nothing to stop them. And then
Oh,
so then it falls on those of us who take what we do seriously, who love what we do, who are trained, who went through the certification, who take everything that we do seriously as professionals. Um we have to figure out how to differentiate ourselves,
yeah.
because we share a title with people who just many who just don't care, right? So
Well,
that's
yeah.
where this, yeah, go ahead.
Because, some people, so there's two sides, right? Some people feel like coaching, it can be very much like an MLM, like a pyramid scheme where, it's like coach period,
Yeah.
coach
Well,
and
we talked about that before too, though, right? Like that depends on the kind of coach and who you're coaching,
right. Well, a
right?
coach is coaches other coaches, right? So a coach.
I mean, as a coach, I do have a coach because I want a coach, but you don't have
Well,
to.
no,
That's the
well,
thing.
I
You
think
don't have
that
to.
it's beneficial to have a coach. Now, like even high level athletes still have coaches. Like they are
Mhm.
the best of the best and they still have a coach. So just because you reach a certain level doesn't mean that you don't need somebody maybe higher than you to help you get to
Pushing
the
you.
next level. And so I think that oftentimes though, if you are hiring someone just based on their marketing, and and maybe their marketing promises all these things and you think, well, that sounds amazing, and you sign up for it, and then that could be maybe just a wrong fit for you. I would say probably don't sign up for a year-long program if if that's your first time, because that's a long time to be in a program. I don't know if that was the case in that person's experience, but I feel like oftentimes that usually where the problems kind of start. And or don't stretch yourself so far financially to where it's going to be such a burden for you for coaching. If that's the case, sign up for, maybe start at a lower tier, like maybe a group program before
Yeah.
you move up, and then kind of like take it slow. That would be my recommendation. Just don't jump in like head first into a program and expect that you're going to get these miraculous results and it's going to change your business and your life, because really it's up to you to still put in the work in order to get the results. And I
True.
think that sometimes they put the onus on the coach as it's the coach's fault that I didn't get the results that I want, even though the coach provides them with all the tools and the resources to get where they need to go, but they still have to put in the effort and the work themselves. Conversely, I will say that there are some coaches that I know who don't even put in the effort to learn somebody's business before trying to teach them how to run said business.
Yeah.
I don't understand how you can teach generic information to someone and expect them to get a specific. result.
Yeah. But, and then there, even there is where you're crossing two lines here. It's one, you're talking specifically about business coaches. And I've got to remind people, like, not everybody is, I'm not a business coach. Not everybody is a business coach. Also, are you dealing with somebody who's calling themselves a coach, but they're not really a coach? So I'm going to dig into this a little bit, but a lot of people call them, yeah, we're about to go in, right? So a lot of people will call themselves coaches, but they're not coaches, they're consultants or advisors. But if they're telling you how to run your business, if they're giving you advice, then even if they are doing coaching, they have taken off their coaching hat and they've put on their consulting hat or their advising hat, right? A coach isn't going to give you advice. They may share life lessons from their own experience or, other clients' experience with you, or what you're going to get more often than not from a coach, which is if your coach is certified to some standard, they're going to ask you questions to guide you towards your own answer. So if you've got somebody who's telling you how to run your business and they don't understand your business, first of all, you're probably not dealing with a coach, or you're dealing with somebody who's wearing multiple hats. But I
Yeah.
wholeheartedly agree with you. But I think it's very important that people understand the difference, because so many people do slap that title of coach on them. And because it's not a regulated industry, I can
Mhm.
only say from my own perspective what I think a coach is, because the next person can tell me who says, right? Who says that's what a coach is. But I did get certified through an organization that was ICF accredited. So that's the International Coaching Federation. And while the industry isn't regulated, if it were to be regulated, I suspect it would be something like the ICF that would head, you know, um, kind of determining what coaching is, what is appropriate in a coaching session. Like, how do you deal with client confidentiality, stuff like that? Whether you're setting up like contracts and things like that, when you're outlining what the relationship is going to work with, I think it would be an organization like the ICF who would probably help to set those standards. But
Yeah.
if you go in with a coach who doesn't have any kind of certification, how do you know what standards they're abiding by? Now,
Yeah.
am I saying that your coach has to have a certification? No, because I know there's going to be some people real angry with me who are coaches and they're not certified. And the fact of the matter is, there's some huge name coaches in the industry that are not certified. You're
Yes.
not probably dealing with those coaches. All right. Those coaches, you know what they're about because they're all over the place. They've got podcasts, they've got YouTube channels, they've got marketing galore. Like, they're everywhere. And so you get a little bit of a taste of
Well,
what
they're
they're,
probably not even working with clients one-on-one anyways, right?
I
Because
think probably most
at
of them
that
aren't
point,
at that
they've
level.
scaled and they are doing something that's definitely more informative. But it's interesting that, so one thing I wanted to hit on is that I don't call myself a coach at all. I never have. It always felt weird to me. And
Mhm.
so I would always say stuff like, I'm a strategist, I'm a mentor, versus like, I never have liked the idea of calling myself a coach. And it's because if you look into, like, I have a post right now in my drafts, what's the difference between a coach and a strategist, right?
Mhm.
And it's like you say, it's really um, based around what the sessions are involving,
Like your
right? Like,
approach, right?
yeah, like and what you're giving, like as a strategist, I'm going to tell you the resources, I'm going to help you get to this next level. But a mindset, someone who's working on mindset, like that's not really my thing to kind of dive into. So I can't really help you. Like I could be like, hey, do some affirmations, get in your journal, do these things. But I can't really dive deep into like why maybe you have mindset issues, right? Nor do I want to.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I feel like there are specific, professionals for each different thing
Mhm.
that focus on those things that can help you through the issues that you have. That's why you'll see when someone hires a coach, they will often hire different types of coach, right? Like maybe they'll hire someone who's a sales coach initially, or a mindset person
Mhm.
initially. And then once they feel like they've figured out and mastered that, then they might hire a different type of coach. They might go to the sales coach. They might go to some other type of coach in order to help them with that specific problem, which I think is a good idea, right? Because I feel like, hiring one person to fix all of your things is probably not going to get you there.
Yeah. Yeah, I
It
agree.
might.
You got plenty of people who, like when I started my certification, they told us don't niche down. And that was smart advice because most of us were just starting. We really didn't know who we were going to be as coaches anyways. But at the end of the day, when you start to really work and dive into working with clients, you do start to discover who you like to work with, what you like to work on, where you feel really strong in, um, in coaching and guiding. But yeah, usually if you're if they're a catch-all, I don't want to make broad
I just
assumptions here about what
wonder.
people are capable of, but
Right, right.
usually you're gonna
Like,
have coaches for different coaches for different areas of your life. Your
right,
like health and fitness coach probably isn't going to do your career coaching. You'll
right, right.
need different coaches if those are things you're focusing on. But yeah, I really, really wanted to talk about it because it's so frustrating to see all these people who are reaching out for help and they're like, I would like to hire a coach. And then they have this experience and then they're jaded. They've already been burned. Like, and there's
Well,
somebody out
yeah,
there who could help them, but they may not get the opportunity to help that person move to that next level they're looking for because the coach that came before them, did them dirty.
yeah.
And
I
so,
and maybe it necessarily like did that person do them dirty or did they just not um deliver what they wanted? And sometimes what
I,
it is, and sometimes this is how people will react, okay? And I saw this post and from somebody, a friend of mine on her wall. Um let's say you do sign up for a year program, right? And something happens in that, and you're like, you know what? I need to get out of this.
mhm,
I need a refund for the program.
mhm.
Well, most businesses aren't going to refund you just because you had a life event come up. But people are so comfortable asking a coach to refund them, even though they have committed, signed a contract, and signed up for this program for an entire year
Yeah,
because they had a life event. And if the coach says, no, sorry, that's not in our policy, that's not what we do, that they don't want to give them a refund, all of a sudden that coach is a villain
yeah,
because they do not do that. However, you wouldn't do that for any other type. And I will say this: it seems to be women asking other women to make this concession
oh yeah,
and be understanding and be kind and be and like don't you have a heart, like you're not going to do this. And so I feel like men aren't really asking other men to do that
mm,
for however, we as females feel like, like kind of like you owe me, like you're, like have some compassion, you
yeah.
know.
Well, and it's not just in the coach. I think so many. I'd say small businesses, but I think those of us specifically who work online, not just like your small little brick and mortar up the road, right? But like those of us who specifically work online, and it's not just specific to like coaching and consulting industries. You see this in Etsy shops. These people are like, oh, I didn't like the way it looked. And like you saw the pictures on the listing and you didn't like the way it looked. Um,
But you already
but you
have
looked at it before you purchased it. It was the
and
item.
this
It
is
wasn't a
the
mock-up.
thing.
It was the item. And now you want a refund. I'm a little tiny business, right? And you're asking a lot. I think people are just so used to getting what they want from like the giants like Amazon and whomever that they're forgetting like I don't work like Amazon does. I don't know what billions like
Right.
Amazon does.
Well, and also you have to think that if they're signing up for, let's say, a year program, most likely there's resources are already made available to them immediately,
Yeah.
right? So you already have access to all the resources and tools that I provide in my program. The only thing that you haven't gotten probably is access to me, you
Right.
know, or maybe you have one or two times and then you decide, you know what? I don't really think that this is gonna be a thing. Like, I'd rather
Mhm.
have a refund after you've already been in the program for 3 months. Maybe you've, used half of the tools already and and then you're like, you know what? I'll take a refund on that."
Yeah.
Like, I think that that is a horrible business practice, and so I say that to say that somebody who maybe has had a bad experience
Hmm.
with coaching, it may not be, in fact, the actual coaching.
That's
It may
fair.
be the fact that they will not give them a refund. And then they're like, you know what? So and so is an asshole. And they didn't do what they were supposed to do
Mhm.
because they didn't refund me when I asked them to,
Yeah.
you know? So you really have to think like, what is the actual cause of the complaint, and why all of a sudden is it a bad experience? What made it a bad experience for you?
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. I absolutely agree with you because for anybody to think that I would get up on here and bash coaches, not my
Yeah.
intent. The specific intent is to make people aware that you really really need to ask questions when you're thinking of hiring a coach, and
Mhm.
you need to I think people need to be educated. You don't know what you don't know, right? So what kind of things do you need to be aware of and be asking people before you hire a coach? First, not we said like 1 year a few times. Not all coaches dive in with a
Yeah.
like you got to work with me a full year. I definitely don't work with that. It's a much shorter period to start. Now, have I had clients that have gone a year and beyond? Yes, that was by choice because we worked well
Yeah, if they
together.
renew at a
Yeah.
certain point.
Yeah, but the starting point for those was like 4 months, 6 months. And then, so ask like, is there an opportunity to do some coaches will do this and some won't. It's not offensive. It doesn't hurt to ask, can I do a session, like a one-off session? I won't
Yeah,
do a one-off session like for fun, but if somebody wants to know how I coach and we already feel like we might be a good fit, yeah, absolutely. We could totally, see what's there
sure.
if that's a good relationship to build. Um, is there a contract? Does it protect the client and the coach?
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask about a contract. And like, is there any flexibility in a contract? So do I want to refund you after 3 months of you collecting everything that I've given you and enjoying my coaching for 3 months? Absolutely not. But if you have, God forbid, some kind of a massive thing that happens in your family and like you're not going to eat because you have to pay me as a coach. No, no, no. We're going to work that out.
Right, like, maybe
I'm
we'll
not going to
stop
leave somebody
payment,
like that.
stop payments going forward, but, and I say the year-long thing because that's what I'm seeing now is, like, a lot of people trying to get out of the year-long programs, and, but I have been working with coaches, for 10 years now, and I know a lot of the coaches, and I know that they can be really great coaches. However, I know some really shitty ones
And
also,
I do too. And I've had
you know?
horrible coaching that wasn't even, this is why I bring, like, I know that it's not always the person, it's not always the coach's fault. You're right. Because you never
Right,
know what's going on
but
behind
it
the scenes
can be.
between two people. But I also do know that there are a lot of people who are saying, this goes back to what we talked about at the beginning, who are saying that they're coaches and what they're providing isn't really coaching.
Right,
It's advising, it's consulting, it's maybe
yeah,
strategy. If you want a strategist, cool, hire a strategist. If you want a coach and they're providing you a strategy, you're stuck. Them giving you advice is them giving you their perspective from their life experience and maybe if they have training. But what they're not taking into account when they're giving advice is your life experience, where you are right here and now based on what brought you here as an individual. And that's why I think that if what you want is a consultant or a strategist, then you need to know what they provide. But if what you need in your life right at this point is a coach, understand that if somebody's telling you this is what you should do, because this is what I did, you're not me. What brought you to where you are today is not what brought me to where I was when I had a similar situation. So your coach should be working with you to define what works for you. It needs to be co-creation between the coach and the client, not me giving you advice.
yeah,
And and so what happens, and I hired a kind of a bigger name coach, and there were some one-on-ones from through their team members, right? That coach doesn't coach one-on-one, but they have a whole team of coaches underneath it. Just
Hmm.
maybe what you were talking about with MLM thing, where they have a whole team of coaches that coach under coaches. And I got on the one-on-one call, and all I was getting was advice that felt awkward because I was like, that doesn't even make sense for me where I'm
Well,
at. You didn't even
and that's
ask,
what
like,
I'm talking
what's my
about.
mindset around this? What's blocking me from doing that? Yeah, I know I'm supposed to do that. Thanks for telling me. Now I'm blocked. How do we get past that part? But that was never addressed,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's what coaches do. They address those blocks and they co-create a way forward with a client. So,
yeah.
yeah, ask the
It,
questions. If you want to hire a coach, don't be deterred. Just don't be afraid to go in there and ask what you want to know so that you can feel comfortable and confident in who you're hiring.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, and maybe go beyond the testimonials that they have on their website
Mhm.
and, and like you said, do the one-to-one session just one time or, speak to someone directly about their experience because sometimes the testimonials can be a little curated and, you know, and maybe usually we gather testimonials right at the end of a service or and sometimes they can just kind of be in the moment, be excited and be happy and be grateful, but then maybe in hindsight it didn't really provide the same results permanently going forward.
Yeah. 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 I think testimonials are great
Just do
for,
your do some due diligence before
yeah.
you throw down 10 grand on working with somebody.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all I have to say. But I could go on and on about coaching and
I think
the
we both could, but what I
industry.
really, really wanted people to walk away with was don't be deterred by hearing Rita, you touched on something that I hadn't even considered talking about, and that was just because you read somebody's experience, and we talk about this all the time. I don't even know why it slipped my mind, but just because you read somebody else's experience doesn't necessarily mean that that was the full picture, right? What are these? There's three sides to every story: yours, mine, and the truth.
Yeah.
But so maybe you don't go ask for that particular coach's information though if you're uncomfortable with it, but definitely don't be deterred by working with a coach because there's these people here and there getting online bashing this and that coach or the industry as a whole, which is
Mhm.
ridiculous because not a single one of us works the exact same way as the next one. Even if we're trained by the same organization, we all work a little different. So get to
Yeah,
know the
and I
person
would
you want to work
say
with and ask the
I
questions.
just to wrap it up, I do want to say that, just because someone is on the internet bashing somebody doesn't necessarily mean that that's the full truth. I've had people who I've known in my personal life try to bash me online as a retaliatory thing, have never worked with me, have never even met in person, but because they have a vendetta against me of some sorts, then they would try to do things that would start some issues. So, all that to say that just because you read somebody getting bashed online doesn't necessarily mean that they are um, not a good resource for you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So just like, do your research, do a little bit, because they might actually be a good fit for you. And again, they might actually not be. So, you know, go with your gut and go with
Trust your
where,
gut.
yeah.